तमाम साथियों को एक बार फिर या अली मदद या नूर मौलाना शाह करीम अल हुसैनी हाजिर इमाम या मौलाए मेहरबान तौफीक ताहीद हिम्मत व यारी तौफीक ताहीद हिम्मत व यारी या मौला मदद फरमा या मौला मदद फरमा. Thank you everyone for joining us once again today. We had some beautiful sessions this morning, and inshallah we will continue to bring whatever little bit ilm that we have to the Jamat. And we truly appreciate all the comments, feedback, and of course questions. One of the questions which has been asked again and again throughout the months, that how do we understand Imam's Farman? And we see there has been many confusion or questions for Imam's latest Farman on this Navroz. We will not go into that Farman today, but tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the second session of Understanding Faramin, we will go through the new Farman of Mala Bapa on this Navroz Mubarak. So what I like to do today is, with your permission and with your prayers, that we will cover some of the principles. Remember, it is better to learn the key words and key symbols in the Faramin. And we will go through some of the references of all Faramin. And I will ask you to go research those Faramans, find those Faraman, read those Faraman, and then try to understand those Faraman on your own. And then if you have any question, you can come back and we can talk about it. So again, with your permission, let's start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is also going to be the part of the Jamat Khana practice and purposes. A more detailed look. So we will start with a very simple Farman which we have heard many times. I mean, more time than we can even remember. And this Farman is our beloved Imam Aka Sultan Muhammad Shah. May our soul be sacrificed to that Imam. From Dar es Salaam, September 29th, 1899. Imam says, when you have some time, think. Who is creator and who is creation? Have you ever thought like that? So here we will stop for a second. When Imam asks a question in the Farman, principle is that Imam needs your attention. He wants to grab your attention every time you listen, every time you read, every time someone asks a question like that. This farman should come into your mind instantly. So whenever Imam asks a question, pay attention to that farman. Whenever you read a farman with a question, do not read that farman like a newspaper. Do not move forward. Do not go to the next line. Stop. Stop right there. Imam needs your undivided attention. Remember, today we will cover the principles how to understand Faramin. Inshallah, altogether, with Imam's mercy, we will have a very good understanding at end of today's session, and with end of tomorrow's session, combinedly, we will have a very, very good understanding. And we will also see some of the words our 48th Imam used, and some of the word our present Imam uses in his Faramin. So let's come back to this Farman now. So what did we just do? We stopped. When Imam asked us, have you ever thought like that? And we stopped. That who is the creator and who is the creation? Someone can say instantly, well, Allah is the creator and we are the creation. That may be a correct answer. Then you would have to say, but everyone knows that. One does not even have to be smiley to know the answer to this question. One does not even have to be a Muslim to know the answer to this question. Then how do we understand this? Why would Imam ask a question which everyone knows? A child, a young man, a young woman, old man, old woman, smiley, non-smiley, Muslim, non-Muslim, everyone knows the answer to this question. Unless Imam is drawing your attention to something different, something else. Maybe we did not understand the question correctly. So what was the second principle we just learned? That if Imam asks a question which is so generic and so common, that you would have to ask yourself, why would Imam even ask this kind of question? Because this question does not require too much thinking. Then rethink. Stop and rethink again. That maybe Imam is saying something different than what we have understood. Are you with me? Is everybody is with me? Do we understand? Inshallah. Let's come to the second line. Imam says, if someone asks you, who are you? You may answer, I am son of my father. Now tell me what just happened. The reason we went forward with answering that I'm son of my father, because we did not follow our principle number one. What was our principle number one? Whenever Imam asks a question, stop and think. Stop and think. That was the principle, correct? Because again, this question, who are you? One does not have to be Ismaili to know who he is. Anyone can instantly say, I am the son or the daughter of my father. So what was principle number 2? Maybe Imam is asking something different. Imam is drawing our attention to something higher. I think we are getting the point now. The principles are sinking in. We are understanding the principle hidden to read the Farman. So again, let's read the line number 2. If someone asks you, who are you? You may answer, I am son of my father. You may even go few generations back. Those who are little more intellect may even go all the way back to Adam. Then that is it. Then that is it. Mullah says, you should think. Now Imam is asking 3 questions. So what are we going to do? After each question, we're going to stop ourselves and we're going to reflect. We're going to use our principle number 1. Because principle number 2 will not apply here. So what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to apply a 3rd principle here. So let's do this. Let's learn this together. You should think, Mullah says, where did Adam come from? So if we apply the principle number 1, we will stop and we will think. We will not read the Farman forward. We will not read any more until we think on this question. That's how we read the Ginan. That's how we read the Farman. That's how we read the Quran actually. Because Quran, sometimes you will find Allah is asking you a question. Ginan as question. Faramin, question. What principle are we going to apply? We're going to stop and think. Why will we not use the principle number 2, which was, that is a common question and everyone know why would Imam ask this question. But look at this. This is not common, is it? This is not a common question. Here Imam is asking something. Now we are more confused. Now we are more puzzled. Now we really have to stop and think. Where did Adam come from? How would we know? Adam of the 6 cycles ago, almost 7 cycles ago now, there was almost 7,000 years ago. I could not even tell the name of my forefather going 2, 3, 4 generations back. How would I know where did Adam come from? So we have to apply the principle number 3. I hope some of you are writing, because this is a class where we learn how to understand Faramin. When we read on our own, how will we understand this? Okay. If we see a question in Imam's Farman, which is out of our way, out of our mind, out of our sight, out of our comprehension, out of our any sort of thinking we may have, any kind of knowledge or understanding or learning we may have, like this question, where did Adam come from? So then we must think, principle number 3, that Imam is telling us by farman, by asking this question. 1, you need to do a research. And you know there are 2 kinds of research. You can go back into history and read about Adam and see where he came from. I'm sure all of you or most of you know, when we read the history, the historian writes the history by reading some other facts. And by reading other facts, there is a chance 50-50 that facts may not be 100% correct. So then you go to the second source and you try to match the history and see why did one historian wrote ABC when the other historian wrote not ABC but maybe B and C only, or maybe A, B, D, or maybe B and E. Why did he write this way and the other one wrote this way? Then there is one other way. There is one other thing you can do. And what is that? Always go to the original source. And what do I call the original source? How do we find the original source for something like Adam? So what do? You go to the Quran, you go to any other holy books, or you can go to the books of our dais and peers, or any farameen of the Imam, or any ginans written by our peer. And why do I call them original source? Think for a second. Why do I think, or why do I say those are the original source? Because the book of Allah, the farameen, the ginan, the books of our hujjatan and da'is, they are written, those books, with haqqul yaqeen. With haqqul yaqeen. What is haqqul yaqeen? Haqqul yaqeen is the 3rd level of certainty. The first level of certainty is ilmul yaqeen. Second level, ainul yaqeen. Third level, haqqul yaqeen. Because our dais, our peers, and the prophets, they were fana fi Allah. They have the knowledge of kalimat and things at the highest level of the nur, and when they write something, they just don't write because someone else said it. It's not a ilmul yaqeen, it's not a bookish knowledge, but it is the original knowledge from the ilme laduni. Ilme laduni, what they were taught inside themselves. It's not the reading, it's not from the book, but what they were taught inside themselves, in their batin. This is the ilm of the batin, not of the zahir. That's how you will find the answer to this question. Where did Adam come from? Then Imam asked two more questions. Who sent Adam and what was before him? Now we understand the question that Imam had asked at the very beginning, that who is the creator and who is the creation. Imam was asking us who have created Adam and what is the creation of the Adam. Do you remember the principle we had applied, the number 1 and 2? Because Imam was asking something different than what we thought Imam was asking. So now that question which we thought initially that it was a generic question is no longer generic question. Because why would Imam ask us something that we all know? No, Imam is truly asking us of the highest level of the question. I'm going to use example. In our present Jamat, Mullah has sometimes asked the Jamat or the REC children, students, what is the meaning of Kokab in the Quran? What is the meaning of Kul in the ayat? Or what is the meaning of Dure Manshur or some other Quranic words? If a child gets up and says, oh yes, Kokab means the star, so shining star, or Kul means say, yeah, that is a good translation. But Imam said, is he? We just learned that from this lesson that Imam is not asking something, a translation of a common question, but Imam is asking for you to pay attention the meaning behind those ayat and those words. Otherwise, meaning of Kokab, most of us would know, and then what? So meaning of the Kokab is shiny stars, then what? Why would Imam ask a question if there was no wisdom? There is a lot of wisdom hidden in it. Because when you will go to search the word Kokab, then you will find out this word is used in Ayah and Nur, and then you will start to read Ayah and Nur, and then you will have to ask someone what is the meaning of Ayah and Nur, and at the end you will come to understand Imam was drawing our attention to a principle of the Imam in Ayah and Nur. A principle of the Imamat in Ayah and Nur. Imam was drawing our attention to that ayat and that principle, not the word Kokab. So, let's come to this Farman again. I hope that we are learning this principle, and I hope we will be able to apply this on our daily reading of Faramin. Whenever we read a Farman, and if there is a question or if there is a confusion, then we will be able to apply some of these principles to understand those Farman. Inshallah. Okay. So, in the very same Farman, this was taken from the page 1 in the small 10 Rouhani Farman book, and the following 2 lines are taken from page number 4. Remember this same Farman. Mullah says, and those with ilm, आप में से जो ilm वाले हो गए. Which ilm? The bookish ilm? The ilm that you receive in your school or in your training course at your job, Which ilm Imam is talking about? Those with ilm, the hakiki ilm. We just talked about that, right? The hakiki ilm. Those with hakiki ilm will increase their ranks step by step. आप में से जो इल्म वाले होंगे उनके दर्जात स्टेप बाय स्टेप बुलंद होंगे. So now, if you think of this Farman, and with the knowledge and the ilm that you just learned, because you would understand the Farman, what will happen next? Mola will increase your ranks. He will enhance your ranks. He will enhance your understanding. Do we see that? In the very same Farman, Imam says this. Then also on the very next line, Imam says, but those without the ilm will say, we are not going anywhere. We are just sitting here. The comparison of two of the Imam's murid, the listener and the reader of the Farman. What is the comparison? Those who will have ilm, hakiki ilm of the Imam, not information, not a book knowledge. Hakiki ilm of Imam will, not maybe, शायद की बात नहीं हो रही यहाँ पर. इमाम कहते हैं कि वो उनके दर्जात को बुलंद करेंगे. इल्म वाली रूह दर्जा ब दर्जा बुलंद होगी. It's a definite statement. Ilm wali ruh. And what about the people without the ilm? Those without the ilm will say, we are not going anywhere. Why would they say that? Why would they say they are not going anywhere? Because they don't have enough hakiki knowledge to understand what they are doing, what path they are walking on, and where they are going. So what they will say, we are just sitting here. That is the power of hakiki ilm. That is the power of Imam's hakiki ilm. I don't have the Farman in front of you, but this morning ALWAAZ Rashida Sahaba was quoting this Farman. That when Imam in Golden Jubilee said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad, that when you have a time, keep a tasbih in your pocket. Remember the name of Allah, remember the name of Muhammad, remember the name of Mawla Ali, and remember the name of any of the Imam. And our Jamat started to do the understanding of that Farman. Some said, oh, maybe we don't even have to worry about our dua anymore, because now we can just say tasbih anytime we want. No, what the Imam was saying, that on top of your regular prayers and regular obligation, do not waste your life. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your single second. Whenever you have a second, 5 seconds, a minute, remember Allah, remember Muhammad. Imam was telling you about the additional prayers, not the replacement. Not the replacement of the dua and the prayer and Jamat Khana. You can see now why it is so important to understand the Farman correctly the first time. Because otherwise, years after years, we will have a misunderstanding of the Farman. We will not be able to benefit the way we should be benefiting. So let's come to the second farman, or not the farman but preambulum of the Imam's Ismaili constitution. And why are we talking about this here? Because we are talking about farman, Imam and the Murid, then this piece is very important to us. In the emblem, Imam write, the authority of the Imam in the Ismaili Tariqah is testified by the Bayya, by the Murid to the Imam, which is the act of acceptance by the Murid of the permanent spiritual bond, underline word, bond, between the Imam and the Murid. And how does Imam binds us permanently and spiritually? By farman. We are bound by this spiritual connection. So when Imam gives you the farman, you do not just say labbaik just for the sake of saying labbaik, but you understand the farman, you take it to the heart, and then you follow on the farman. And when you do that, when you take the first step of understanding farman, Imam by his spiritual bond will pull you toward him. Imam will pull you toward him. What did you do? You said, Ya Mola, I will follow you. Follow you, him where? How are we going to follow him? By his farman, by understanding his farman, by obeying his farman. And when we do that, because we are bound spiritually with him, he will pull us on the higher ranks. Higher rank. And look at how merciful Imam is. He has given us the title of Da'i. How much ilm, how much hakiki ilm our Da'i had in our history. Maulana Hazir Imam Salawatullah alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad, in his Atlanta Farman, while giving this title to the Jamat of Da'i, says, have you heard of our Da'is? Do you know who were our Da'is in our history? Question. So what was the principle? When Imam asks a question, we should stop. We do the personal search. How was our Da'is of the past, of the history? They were complete in their ilm. They were complete in their ilm, and by completing their ilm, rank by rank, they have increased their levels. That's what Imam wants from us. Imam just did not give us a title of Da'i for nothing. Imam wants us to be as complete as possible like our Da'is of the past, and by completing our ilmi journey, we can increase our spiritual ranks. Let's come to this ayat, and this is not a new ayat for us. We read this ayat 3 times a day in our dua. Atiullah, Atiu Rasul, wa ulil amra minkum. Follow, obey Allah. Follow, obey Rasul. Follow, obey the one who is amongst you, who is the Malik of Amr. The amongst you, the one who is amongst you with the Amr. This is the Farman, a lie in the Quran that we recite in our dua, telling us to follow Imam's Farman. This ayat in our dua every day is reminding us to follow Imam's Farman. And Imam's Farman are so many that our tariqah is a tariqah of intellect. Our tariqah is a tariqah of the batin. What is written is for all. The ta'wil and interpretation and the understanding and batin is for us. That is Imam's Farman. And this ayat is telling us to remember to follow the Ulil Amr. The last thing on this chapter, Imam's function. Sometimes, unfortunately, maybe just due to the lack of knowledge, we really don't understand the function of the Imam. You could say, of course I understand the function of the Imam. I know my Imam is here to guide me. Guide you where? How? We are here to follow the Imam. How? Where? Imam guides us. Number one, in all the time. He have guided us in the past. He is guiding us today. And He will guide us in the future. How does He guide us? He gives us the examples of the past. And He guides us toward the future. Because the word guidance is for the minute forward. Let me repeat this. The word guidance, the word guidance is for the minute forward. So whatever we do from now on, the Farman is for that. Farman is to guide us and move us forward. He gives us examples from the past. Sometimes He tells us about something that is happening in current time. But even if He is giving us the example from the current time, He is guiding us forward, guiding us toward the future. Do we understand this point? This is a very important point. That Imam's function is to guide us forward, from minute forward into the future, from now on, from this point onward. That is the Imam's function. And look at this Farman of Mullah Bapa early on. And there are few Faramin like this from 64 to 68. Some to the Jamat and some to the association at that time, today's Tariqah board. Mullah in this Farman says, from time to time I give you Faramins concerning worldly matters, but the essential, what has and always will be the essential, is that my spiritual children must understand the meaning of their faith. Meaning of their faith. And they must practice their faith regularly. Now, the question can be, What is practice of our faith? Is it just 3 times dua is the practice of our faith? Mullah have also explained this. The practice of our faith should be aligned with ethic of Islam. You see how Imam guides us? We are his spiritual children, and he is our spiritual father, and he guides us step by step by step. Let me read this. They must practice their faith regularly, whether it be 500 years in the past or 500 years in the future. Remember, Imam of all the time. Imam is guiding us always, all the time. May it be 500 years in the past or 500 years in the future. That covers today's too, the present. The only source of real happiness, the only source of peace and light in oneself is from your faith. And I wish you to touch this to your Mafi. I wish you to teach this to your children. And I wish you to understand it yourself. Because if we don't understand, how are we going to teach this to our children? This Farman makes it clear that Imam always guides us. Imam always guides us toward the future. And every second, every time we read the Farman, that is the guidance for the next minute, the future, going forward. Because whatever happened, in one of the Imam's Betul Gyal Farman, Mullah Baba says, whatever sin you have, and he moves his hand like this, Allah will remove it. Forget about the past. Let me guide you toward the future. Going forward, do good. Follow your faith on the basis of ethic of Islam. Understand the Farman. Follow the Farman. That is the spiritual bond between Imam and the spiritual children. So I'm going to stop here. Remember, we will continue this tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock session. Stop here. Ponder on this. If we have learned the principle on how to read and understand Farman, you will see that when you read the Farman next time, when you are listening to Farman in Jamat Khana next time, the way we listen and the way we read, it will change. It will no longer be the way we are today. Inshallah. So let me stop here and we open the floor for questioning.
Subhanallah, sir.
Shukranallah, walhamdulillah.
Sir, I don't see any question in the chat room, but I believe someone wants to ask a question.
Ji.
Yeah, Farid, please go ahead.
या अली मदद
या अली मदद
मुझे ये पूछना है कि हाजिर इमाम का जो रिसेंटली तालिका आया है कि प्राइवेट प्रेयर, इसके बारे में थोड़ा रोशनी देंगे कि क्या है, मतलब प्राइवेट प्रेयर को भी इम्पोर्टेंस दिया है. इज इट रिलेटेड टू बैतुल खैर और इज इट जमात खाना, किसी को टर्न मिलता है किसी को नहीं मिलता है तो घर में पढ़ लेते. तो आप थोड़ा रोशनी डालेंगे इस वर्ड जुमले के ऊपर हाजिर इमाम के.
जी, जिस तरह से नाचीज ने अभी अर्ज की कि हमारे पास 2 सेशन है इसके. टुमारो का जो सेशन है वो इस नवरोज के फरमान के ऊपर है। और ये पूरा सेशन जो है वो इसीलिए रखा गया है क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों के सवाल आए कि मौला ने जहाँ पर पर्सनल एंड प्राइवेट इबादत की बात की है, रिमेम्बरेंस की बात की है, और मैं आपके सामने ये फरमान ला कर रखता हूँ ताकि आप देखें कि दिस इज द टुमारोज लेसन वेयर इमाम सेज आई विश my Jamat to keep in mind the importance attached to our historic tradition of personal private prayers. यही आपका सवाल है ना? तो आज के प्रिंसिपल को आप अप्लाई करेंगे। आज का प्रिंसिपल क्या था कि जब मौला ने हमें हिदायत फरमाई कि हिस्टोरिक ट्रेडिशन को आप करेंगे तो आपका क्या काम होगा आज? पर्सनल प्रैक्टिस, राइट? एंड आपका क्या काम होगा आज? पर्सनल सर्च। हम जाके देखेंगे हिस्ट्री के अंदर कि हमारी ट्रेडिशन क्या है। एंड इफ यू आर विथ मी टुमारो 1 o'clock we are going through this farman and I will explain this line until we all understand this line. Thank you for asking. You are a little bit ahead of me. This is for tomorrow's session. जी।
Still don't have any questions at chat room. Friends, if you want to ask any question, please unmute your device.
अच्छा, यहाँ पर व्हाट्सएप के अंदर एक क्वेश्चन है कामड़े साहब, so let me ask that. Okay, so question, okay, I'm going to rephrase the question a little bit. Okay, you have asked or you said this 3 principle of listening or reading the farman. The principle number 1 is that when Imam asks a question or draw our attention to the past, like in this farman we were talking about today, that where did Adam come from, then at that point we should stop. Because if we read the question like a newspaper, if we read the farman like a newspaper, we will go into the farman so fast that we will not be paying attention to the question Imam is asking. Imam is not asking us a question because he doesn't know the answer to it. Imam is asking us a question because he wanted to draw our attention to something. And we had used 3 examples when Imam used the word meaning kokab. Or in this farman, Imam asks who is the creator and who is the creation. Or Imam is asking this 3 questions. Where did Adam come from? Who sent Adam? And what was before him? These questions are asked to draw our attention, to make us alert that Imam wants us to know something. And how do we know this thing? By personal search. We're going to go into the history. If we understand the farman. If we don't understand the farman, then Imam himself is explaining in this farman that if I ask you, you may say, I'm the son of my father. But that question, everybody can answer. You don't even have to be a good murid. You don't even have to be smiley. You don't even have to be Muslim to answer, who are you? I'm daughter of my father. So, what was the principle? Stop. Because Imam is trying to catch and draw your attention towards something. And what was this something? It was not about the creator and creation, but the creator who created Adam. कि किसने आदम को बनाया, किसने आदम को भेजा और आदम से पहले क्या था? That was the question. Just like the question, what is Kokab? It was not about the Kokab. Imam was drawing your attention to what? Ayah and Nur. And what is an Ayah and Nur? The principle of Imam and Imamat. You see, that's how we're supposed to read the Farman. When Imam asks a question, stop. Pay attention. Think. So thank you for asking this question. I hope this was your question because I rephrased it a little bit. If not, please ask again. G.
Okay, sir, I don't see any questions in the chat room still.
If there is no question, we can stop here. And inshallah, we will continue tomorrow afternoon on this same chapter. And remember, tomorrow we are going to cover the new Navroz Mubarak, Talika Mubarak, Mola Papa sent just a week ago. We will cover that tomorrow. Thank you again, everybody. Ya Ali Madad, thank you for joining us. Ya Ali Madad. Ya Ali Madad.